Before a young boy named Jojo leaves home for a special training to become a young Nazi soldier, an imaginary version of his idol, Adolf Hitler, appears to him. Even though Jojo looks ready to finally fulfill his dream of becoming a soldier, he doesn't look very excited. However, Adolf gets him pumped, and shortly after, he leaves the house and meets his best friend, Yorkie, who is also headed for the training ground. When they get there, a captain named Klenzendorf welcomes all the young kids. He also introduces them to his sub-officers, Finkel and Fräulein Rahm. Not too long after, Klenzendorf instructs all the boys to start training immediately, but things don't go too well for Jojo, who seems really nervous and tries to avoid getting injured. Later that night, while he's with Yorkie, Jojo talks about how he would love to catch a Jew for Hitler, who he wants to be his best friend. Even though Yorkie sounds jealous, he understands that Jojo is obsessed with the Nazi leader. The next day, two men, Christoph and Hans, lead the kids in training. They start by asking the kids if any of them has the stomach to kill an enemy. While all the kids sound sure of their answer, Jojo doesn't look too comfortable with it. Just then, Christoph calls him forward and hands him a rabbit, which he's asked to kill. Jojo looks shocked to hear this, but Christoph insists that he does it to show that he has what it takes to be part of the Nazi army. Hans then leads a chant to get Jojo to complete the task, but the little boy drops the rabbit and tries to get it to run away. Unfortunately, Hans picks it up and kills the rabbit, after which he calls Jojo a coward, like his dad. However, Jojo says his dad is not a coward and he's fighting in the war. Christoph and Hans don't care about this, and they push Jojo to the floor. Just as Christoph is about to step on him, Jojo runs away, and all the other kids laugh at him. He eventually sits by a tree and looks sad about what happened, until Adolf shows up. He tells Jojo that he understands why his little friend couldn't kill the rabbit. He also advises Jojo to be like a rabbit, because the small animal is usually brave and sneaky. Suddenly, Yorkie shows up and looks confused to see Jojo talking to a tree. Even though he asks who Jojo is speaking to, he says it's nobody. Yorkie then says he came to check on his friend, but Jojo says he doesn't need to be pitied because he's going to be like a rabbit and show everyone what he's made of. Before Yorkie can say anything else, Jojo runs off with Adolf. Meanwhile, Klenzendorf is teaching the other kids how to handle a hand grenade. Just as he asks for his first volunteer, Jojo runs to the scene and snatches the hand grenade. He continues running and eventually stops to throw it, but unfortunately, it hits a tree and bounces right back to where he is. The grenade blows up, and this leaves Jojo unconscious as he's taken to the hospital for proper care. Days after the grenade incident, Jojo returns home from the hospital, but he doesn't look happy to see that he now has a scar. When his mom, Rosie, comes to his room, he complains about how ugly he is, but she convinces him that he's not looking bad. She dresses him up nicely and then takes him to the military headquarters, where she sees Klenzendorf. Before the captain can say anything, she kicks him and also blames him for what happened to Jojo. Klenzendorf tries to explain himself and also mentions that the grenade incident got him demoted for negligence. Despite this, Rosie tells him to ensure that nothing like that happens to Jojo again. She also tells him to find something for Jojo to do, and just as he asks if there's anything to do in his office, Rahm suggests allowing Jojo to help with placing some posters around the town. Even though Rosie is happy with this, Jojo doesn't like his new role. After he works for a while, he meets with Rosie at the town square, where a group of anti-Nazi protesters have been killed. Rosie sympathizes with them, and as Jojo asks what they did, she says they did what they could. From there, Jojo continues his work until he decides to head home. When he gets there, he hears a strange sound inside the house and starts looking around, but he doesn't find Rosie anywhere. He then enters his late sister's room, Inge, and as he looks around, he sees that one of the boards on the wall has been cut out. He immediately opens it and checks inside, only to find a Jewish girl named Elsa. Jojo looks really scared, so he runs away and even falls down the stairs. Elsa also comes out of her hiding spot, and just as Jojo tries to run outside, she stops him. She steals his knife from his pocket and threatens to kill him if he reports her to anyone. She adds that she's Rosie's guest, and that if he reports to anyone, the Nazi police will arrest him and his mother for hiding a Jew in the house. Elsa then tells him not to tell Rosie that he has found her already. Jojo agrees to her terms, and with this, she lets him go. He then runs to his room and meets Adolf there. As they try to wonder how Elsa managed to convince Rosie to hide her in the house, Jojo decides to go back to negotiate with her so she can leave the house. He puts on a makeshift gear and heads back to meet Elsa, but before he can say anything, she shows up behind him and scares him away. This leaves Jojo frustrated, and as he thinks of what to do next, Adolf tells him to find a way to get Elsa out of the house. As he looks confused about what to do, Jojo sits in the living room and waits for Rosie to return from work. When she finally returns, Jojo tells Rosie that he heard noises inside Ing's room. However, Rosie says it's likely the rats. That night, all his efforts to get Rosie to tell him about Elsa fail, and he eventually goes to bed. Rosie then goes to meet Elsa to warn her to be quieter because Jojo said he could hear noises from the room. She adds that Jojo is a Nazi fanatic, and if he ever finds out about Elsa, he might report it to the police. The next day, after his physical therapy with Rom, Jojo asks Klenzendorf what he has to do if he finds a Jew. The captain says he can just report it to the police so that the Jew and everyone who helped can be killed. He then asks if Jojo has seen one, but the little boy says he doesn't know how to identify them. From there, he heads home and goes to meet Elsa. She's calmer with him this time, and he tells her that since they both have no choice but to live together, she has to help him with a book he plans to write on Jews. He tells her to start talking about her people, and as she says she's just like him, Jojo says it's impossible because what he has always been told is that Jews are like demons. She then tries to play along so he can get her some food, but he says he won't give her anything. As she then repeats that Jews are normal people, Jojo gets angry and argues that Nazis are stronger than she thinks. However, Elsa shows him that he's weak, and after their fight, they go their separate ways. Later that night, while at dinner with his mom, Jojo notices that Rosie is happy. He asks her what's happening, and she says it's because the war will soon end. Jojo sounds disappointed because it means the Nazis will lose the war, but Rosie says all she cares about is peace. She eventually tells him to change the topic, and as he sees that she's not eating her bread, he asks for it so that she doesn't give it to Elsa. The next day, Jojo goes to meet Elsa again, and he tells her to write down everything about where Jews live and how they behave. Even though she agrees to do it, she asks him why he keeps coming to meet her, and if he has no friends. He says he has one, and that she's the one without any friends. However, Elsa says she has a fiancé named Nathan, and that he's coming to rescue her after the war. Jojo doesn't think she's telling the truth, but she tells him that it's because he has never experienced love before. She also mentions how Nathan used to quote lovely words from his favorite poet, but Jojo still thinks she's making no sense. This gets her angry and she returns his book. Following this, Jojo heads to a library and picks out one of the poetry books of Nathan's favorite poet. He decides to use it to write a letter to Elsa, telling her that Nathan is no longer interested in getting married to her. After he's through, Jojo meets Elsa and tells her he found an old letter from Nathan. He reads it to her, and this breaks her heart as she returns to her hiding spot to cry. Jojo realizes that he might have gone too far, so he writes another letter to inform Elsa that Nathan was not being serious in the first letter. After reading the new letter to Elsa, she appears to feel better and tells him to continue bringing any letters Nathan writes to her. Jojo agrees to this, and later that day, while hanging out with his mom, he asks her about love. She tells him it's the strongest thing in the world, and he'll experience it one day. She also mentions that it will be like he has butterflies in his belly. The next day, Jojo meets with Elsa again, and this time she starts helping him with his book, even though most of the things she says are only to make him happy. As she also helps him, Jojo starts to admire her, but he says nothing. When he returns to his room, he sees Adolf waiting for him. Adolf says he's uncomfortable with how much time Jojo spends with Elsa. However, Jojo says it's just for his book, and Adolf tells him to be careful around her. He also advises Jojo to show his book to someone, since he already has enough things there. The following day, Jojo meets with Klenzendorf and asks if someone can get a medal for reporting a Jew. The captain tells him to think about other things, because they're about to be invaded by American soldiers. While Klenzendorf is then working on a defense strategy with Finkel and Rom, Jojo tells them about his book and what he now knows about Jews. They ask where he got the details from, and he says it's from the books in the library. Shortly after, Klenzendorf then assigns him a new task to collect metal from people in the town. While he's working, he sees Rosie leaving a note on a bench, and when he goes to check it, he realizes that his mom is also an anti-Nazi protester. Shortly after, Jojo meets Yorkie, who is now a real soldier. Jojo looks jealous, but happy for his friend. He also mentions that he found a Jew, but Yorkie says he recently saw one too, and he doesn't think there's anything wrong with them. Before Jojo can say anything else, Yorkie says he has to leave. Later that day, Jojo continues to hang out with Elsa, and he even starts to get butterflies in his belly. Shortly after, someone knocks on the door, so Jojo tells Elsa to hide quickly. As he opens the door, he sees that it's the Nazi police led by a man named Diertz. He says he's there for a routine inspection, and as he and his men check around, Klenzendorf and Finkel come in. Diertz is surprised to see them, but the captain says they came to drop off something for Jojo. They also offer to wait until the inspection is done. While checking around, Diertz asks Jojo several questions about Rosie, but the little boy says his mother is always busy. Just then, Diertz notices that Jojo has no knife with him. As Jojo tries to explain where it is, Elsa shows up with the knife and says she's Inga. Diertz and Klenzendorf are left confused because they didn't know Jojo had a sister, but she says it's because he's not proud of her. Just then, Diertz asks Elsa to show her ID to confirm who she is. Even though this gets her scared, she hands out Inga's ID to Klenzendorf, who quickly collects it. He asks her for her date of birth, and after she tells him, Klenzendorf says she's correct. As he's about to return it to her, Diertz sees Jojo's book, but Elsa claims it and says it's supposed to be a gift for Hitler. They then go through the book and are happy with what they see, though there also happens to be a section where Jojo draws several ways he wants to kill Nathan. Shortly after, all the officers leave, and Elsa returns to her hiding spot. Jojo meets her there and praises her for fooling the men, but she says she got Inga's date of birth wrong. At this point, Jojo realizes that Klenzendorf was actually helping them. As Elsa looks sad while saying she's sure they'll be back, Jojo tells her that she can still pretend to be Inga because no one knew his sister died. Jojo also says he'll tell Rosie that he knows about Elsa and that they're even friends. However, Elsa says they can't be friends because he's Nazi. Jojo is not so happy with this, but Adolf tells him not to be bothered about Elsa. The following day, while he's out working, Jojo is left devastated when he sees that Rosie has been killed. He heads home and tries to kill Elsa, but he's unable to do it. As he then breaks down in tears, she consoles him. Later that night, Elsa explains to Jojo that Rosie didn't want to tell him about being anti-Nazi because she knew he was a fanatic. Elsa also mentions how Rosie was a good person who took her in after her parents were killed. Jojo then asks her what she would do first after she's free, and she says she'll dance. Days later, the war thickens, and while Jojo is out working, he sees Yorkie carrying a missile that eventually blows up a building. Yorkie says sorry for what happened to Rosie and tells Jojo that things are not looking good for the Nazis in the war. As they keep talking, Yorkie also mentions that Hitler has killed himself, and this leaves Jojo shocked. Before they walk too far, a bomb lands in front of them, so they run to take cover. They soon meet Rom, who gives Yorkie a gun and wears a Nazi jacket for Jojo so that he doesn't get killed by Nazis. After she takes a gun and walks away, a missile kills her and Jojo has to move again. After a while of moving around, Jojo is arrested because of the Nazi jacket he's wearing. When he gets to the holding area for all those who have been arrested, Jojo sees Klenzendorf looking bruised. Klenzendorf says sorry for what happened to Rosie, and shortly after, he tells Jojo to go home and take care of his sister. Before he knows what's happening, Klenzendorf quickly removes Jojo's jacket and calls him a Jew. He also spits on Jojo to make it believable, and this makes the American soldiers take the little boy back outside. As he still struggles to go back in, Jojo is told to go home. On his way, he sees Yorkie, and they both look happy to still be alive. As Yorkie then says he's going home, he adds that the end of the war now means Jojo can free the Jew in his house. Jojo immediately remembers that Elsa is still at his house, so he heads there. However, when Elsa asks him who won the war, Jojo says the Nazis did. He also tells her not to leave because it's not safe yet. He doesn't look happy as he does this, but he appears to be scared of being lonely. Days later, Jojo decides to finally let her go, so he writes another letter pretending to be Nathan, who he says has a plan to get her out of the country. However, Elsa says Nathan is dead, and she knows Jojo has been the one writing the letters. She also thanks him for helping her. Even though he initially says he's not the one writing the letters, Jojo says he did it because he loves her. She also then tells him that she loves him as her little brother. Before they head out, Jojo heads to his room and meets Adolf there. However, Jojo appears to have had enough of his imaginary friend, so he kicks him out of his life. He then goes back to meet Elsa, who asks if things are still dangerous on the outside. Jojo says nothing has changed, but she still follows him outside, only to find out he was joking and that the war is now over. She slaps him for that, and he acknowledges that he deserves it. Just then, he asks her what they'll do next, and she starts dancing, after which he also shows his moves.